It's a wet Wednesday afternoon here in the capital, Accra. Wherever you are, this is Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible. My name is Elton Robert, and we've got a show for you this exciting Wednesday afternoon right here on The Pulse. Now, coming up this afternoon, it has emerged in court that the condition precedent for considering the controversial LGBTQ+ bill was not satisfied by Parliament. Hence, there was no basis for the House to have entertained the bill. We are live in Parliament, we are live in court for the very latest on this matter.
Submission this morning has clearly indicated that those concerns raised by him were not corrected or factored in the bill before attempts to transmit.
I believe that at this.
And we'll bring you the latest from the court because there's a development on the applications filed by Amanda Odoi and, of course, Richard De La Sky. We'll tell you the court decision going forward. We'll stay in court because Richard Jakpa petitions Chief Justice as he alleges unfairness and abuse of his rights by the trial judge in the ambulance case, Afia Sewa Boche. We'll bring you an exclusive interaction with Jakpa as we unravel the complicities of this significant trial and explore what it means for the fight against corruption in Ghana. And of course, later in the bulletin, the National Association of Graduate Teachers kicked against the consideration of the free SHS bill, criticizing government for failing to consult key stakeholders. We'll hear from the group as they push for the immediate suspension of the bill's presentation to Parliament to allow for broader consultation. And as always, my name is Elton Robert. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Digilo, affordable, safe sanitation for all. We are live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, myjoyonline.com for these and more. When we'll come back, Richard Jakpa will be my guest here on The Pulse. You're welcome back, and let's get interactive. Your comments, questions are welcome via our social media handles on Facebook, on X, formerly Twitter, and of course YouTube, and of course myjoyonline.com. Now, let's settle for the details this afternoon. The high-profile ambulance trial involving businessman Richard Jakpa, the third accused, is in the spotlight this afternoon. The case that has captivated the nation. Jakpa, along with the other defendants, stands accused of corruption and misconduct in the procurement of ambulances for the National Health Service. As the trial unfolds, we delve into the intricacies of the case, examining the allegations, the evidence presented, and the broader implication for public trust in our institutions. Join us to unravel the complicities of this significant trial and explore what it means for the fight against corruption. Of course, a man who is also part of what is going on in the court. And of course, I'm privileged and delighted to say that we have in the studio for an exclusive interruption, Richard Jakpa, who is a businessman. Richard, you're welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
And it's a pleasure to have you here.
Same to me.
So you're always laughing. What really is behind this smile always on your face, even though you are in court?
Oh, well, happiness is your personal responsibility in life. You don't allow people to dictate your mood and how you live your life.
So that explains the reason behind this smile always on your face.
Oh yes, I always try to make the best out of life for myself.
Even though you may end up in prison.
Well, I don't think so because of the evidence that I've adduced in court. I'm very confident that I'll come out victorious based upon the evidence in court.
So you describe yourself as a businessman. What kind of business do you do?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. So to construction, we do construction. I used to do export of coffee beans. Coffee beans.
Coffee beans?
Coffee beans. I used to export coffee beans. In fact, that is the first business I started with way back in 97. Immediately I left the military. 2 months after I left the military, then I won a contract from Europe, specifically Croatia, about 540,000 euros, more than €500,000.
To supply coffee beans?
Coffee beans. So I used to buy my coffee beans from Sefifi also, Kowubipon, Hohoi, Domahinkro, and then also across the border from Cote d'Ivoire, and then also across the border from Hohoi, areas there. So I had agents all across. So you give them money, they buy, they store them, you move around, your vehicles will cut them to a centralized point, and then you bag them, sort them out, and then you ship them out of the country.
So this is a business you started right after you left the military? Right
after I left the military.
You left the military or you were discharged?
Well, I was released. In the military, the term is released.
Does it also mean sacked?
Not at all. In fact, there are different types of releases in the military. We have release dismissed with disgrace or misconduct, unsatisfactory, lack of application of interest. Service also terminated. There are so many types, depending upon the conduct or the reason for which they are releasing you. In fact, there's a whole military administration law on that. And I think I've sent that to you. There's a table.
In fact, I'm just, because the military matter just came in, I just wanted just to exhaust it. In court, the information or what has been presented suggests that you were dishonorably released from the military.
That is not true. In fact, the military is a well-structured institution, and they are very precise and specific on whatever they put on paper. You hardly get ambiguity in military service writing because it's part of the training to ensure that there's clarity of thought whenever you are writing service papers. So the military cannot release you and put their misconduct or dishonorable without having a reason for that. And they will always quote the military law in releasing you, the clauses upon which they are releasing you. So if you look at the original one that I sent to you, they quoted clause item 2, clause A, on the table of article 15.01 of Armed Forces Administration Volume.
Right.
And in that particular clause, it states that for lack of application or interest, service terminated. Now, in the same item 2, you go to clause C, it is stated unsatisfactory conduct. But my official letter for my release, which I've given it to you, they didn't state clause C. They stated clause A under item 2 of the Armed Forces Volume, Administration Law. And that is very clear. So, and once you go to that particular clause, clause A of the item 2, and you are going to the reason, is service terminated.
Right.
And when you terminate somebody's service, it's not out of misconduct, because in the military volume law, there's a column, item 1, which is deals with misconduct. And under misconduct, you have release, dismissed with disgrace, all those things are there. So I didn't even fall under item 1. It was item 2. And under the item 2, you have a lot of them.
Right.
And it was item 2 specific clause 1. So any document that does not talk to item 2, clause 1 of the Armed Forces Volume for my release is just peddling falsehood.
All right, so hold on there. Let me just run through, and this is part of the evidence presented in court. So this is Ministry of Defense and 13th June 2024. This is very latest. And it says, I write to provide you with official records of Lieutenant Richard Jakpa, GH2899. That's your service number.
Yes.
This is the number you use whilst in service.
That's my number.
And to confirm that Lieutenant...
It's for life.
Yes, and to confirm that Lieutenant Richard Jakpa was indeed released from the Ghana Armed Forces on November 1, 2007 on following grounds. He failed to pass his lieutenant to captain promotion examination, known in military circle as PROMIX, after 7 years. The officer went on absent without official leave in 2004 and was tried by ASA and awarded severe reprimand and forfeiture of 14 days pay, unsatisfactory conduct. And then there's also this other document attached to it. This is 12 September 2007. The above named officer was commissioned into the Armored Corps as a regular officer in August 1998. All things being equal, the officer should have made a rank of captain on 21st August 2002 and a major on 21st August 2007. He has consistently failed his POMAS. And then it comes to paragraph 3 of this document, which says, throughout the service, Lieutenant Jakpa has proved consistently that he belongs to a world incompatible with the decent and gentlemanly composure that the Presidential Commission confers on officers of the Ghana Armed Forces. He is a bad example by all standards, and his continued retention in the service is likely to cause more harm to the service and to himself. Indeed, in May 2004, a special report submitted to him by his commanding officer suggested that the officer had reached his calling. 3 years on, his new commanding officer described his conduct as shameful and regrettable.
So this particular, there are 2 letters you just read.
Right.
One was signed by the current Minister of Defense, if I'm right.
Yeah, this is the first one. And the one I just read is signed by Brigadier General for Chief of Staff. This
you read
MPG
an earlier one.
The earlier one signed by the Dominic Nitu, Member of Parliament, Minister for Defense.
Okay, so let me tackle that one first.
Right.
Then I'll go to the second one in that order. The first one that was written by the Minister of Defense, Dominic Nitu, is completely out of order.
Why do you say so?
I say so because it is not within the purview of the Minister of Defense at MOD to be writing such confidential and assessment of military officers. Not at all. In fact, the MOD is distinct from GHQ. And the GHQ of the Ghana Armed Forces is headed by a Lieutenant General. In fact, Lieutenant General Pompepra. He is the CDS. Currently, Chief of Defense Staff. He is the head of the Armed Forces. And he's headquartered at the General Headquarters of the Ghana Armed Forces. For he has all the 3 arms of the Ghana Armed Forces: the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. The Minister of Defense is a political head of that institution, and he doesn't run the military. The military, the CDS, is backed by military laws. His discretionary powers and everything are backed by military laws. And he operates according to that procedure. Now, this letter that was written by the Minister of Defense, and I say it's out of order because, let's take it for instance, if a letter comes from the Attorney General's department, granted, let's take it hypothetically, that a letter indeed came from the Attorney General's department, or under RTI, from any institution outside the military.
Requesting for information.
Requesting for information. The letter is written, directed to the Minister of Defense. What the Minister of Defense is supposed to do is to attach a covering letter to that request and then write to the Chief of Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, who reports directly to the CDS. The Chief of Staff will then send it to the CDS. The CDS will look at the information that the outside institution is requesting within the military and either okay it or refuse and cite reasons. And if he decides to okay it, he will look at the security classification of those documents that are needed by a civil institution. He has that discretionary power to declassify that information because we have restricted, we have confidential, we have secret, we have top secret. So depending upon what you are requesting, he will either declassify or refuse to grant you that information, looking at the implication to the military. So once he approves of it, his Chief of Staff And when he approves, he will be very specific on what type of information he's approving.
That's going out.
That is going out. It's not a wholesale business. He will be very, very specific. Then it will then go to his chief of staff, who will then write to the military secretary, who is headed by a brigadier general, in this case, Air Commodore Edu Jemfi. It will go to him. And all these things are done with trail of correspondence,
right,
with references, because military keeps records. Now, when the military secretary gets this letter, quite specific, and it is coming from the chief of staff, which means the CDS has authorized, he will get that information from the archives. Mind you, I left the military about 17 years ago. So they have to go and dig through the archives and get that particular information. And once they get it, the military secretary will also attach a covering letter to it, back to the chief of staff. All this, you have the paper trail. The chief of staff, with the permission from the CDS, after they've perused and they realize that that was what the CDS approved, would then write to the Minister of Defense.
And then?
Then the Minister of Defense will pick what came from the military. Also add a covering letter to the Attorney General's department.
And in this case, this is exactly what happened. I mean, this letter is addressed to the Minister for Justice and Attorney General.
No. You see, if that is what happened, it is strange that the minister, in writing his letter to the Attorney General, will be quoting unsatisfactory conduct.
Perhaps based on what the military wrote about you in 2008, which letter has been attached to this correspondence?
No. That letter that you are talking about, it was a recommendation, not a release letter. And that is the mistake. They've misconstrued that letter and they are roaming around thinking that's my release letter. No. That is supposed to be a recommendation if it indeed that letter does exist.
In fact, it's true. The wording here is that I'm therefore directed to request that Lieutenant Jakpa is released from the service for inefficiency under Article 15 of for continued lack of application or interest at the items provided here. But this
So you realize that this letter was more or less a recommendation, a request, not approval. So if you throw it out there and say that is, I was released on it, it's either you are ignorant or you are engaging in mischief. The other letter that you'll be reading, which is the official one, that is what matters in the military. And that's what the military command can speak to authoritatively.
And this is the 21st October 2007 letter.
Thank you.
Let me just go through. So this is Release Officer, Lieutenant Richard Jakpa. Again, the service number is provided. Reference Armed Forces Regulation Volume 1, Armed Forces Regulation Volume 3. Lieutenant Jakpa is to be released from the Ghana Armed Forces effective from November 1, 2007. He will be released under 2A of the table. The table is provided, and then the reference is made. His total period of reckonable service will be 11 years, 18 days, of which 9 years, 2 months. He's entitled to service gratuity under Article 206. He will not be placed on retired list. He is not permitted to use a rank in civil life. DFC is to grant him up to 31st October 2007 and ensure all our recoveries are made before final payment of gratuity. And the letter goes on to the officer is requested to submit 6 months passport photograph to the service. Armed Headquarters is requested to forward the officer's clearance certificate duly completed to this office. But you can also discount the fact that the earlier letter before this one came through, and this one signed by MDK Ahiaglo, Brigadier General for the Chief of Army Staff, they made damning conclusion on your character and the fact that you were unfit to continue to serve in the Ghana Armed Forces.
And that's what I find strange, because the military that I know, if you read that particular letter, you will realize that they were talking about consistent fraudulent conduct.
Absolutely.
Good. Owing people and institutions, not an institution, institutions. They never named the people. They never named the institutions. They never stated which type of consistent fraudulent conduct, which means that it's not only one fraudulent conduct. It continues.
But did you contest this?
That's why I'm coming to. This letter, I left 17 years ago. I've never seen this letter in my life.
Until it surfaced in court?
Until it surfaced in court. And I never knew such a letter existed. And if you realize, the letter was written, purportedly written by Brigadier General Hiaglo. He's deceased. And you know, dead men don't talk. They don't talk. So he's not here to defend himself. But then, the one that can speak best to this letter is the Chief of Army Staff, retired Major General Odote. Because if you look at the letter, it was signed for him as the Chief of Army Staff. He was by then the Chief of Army Staff. And it was directed to the Chief of Staff in a confidential security classification. So I was not to know. The conspiracy, the allegations, it was something they conspired, and they didn't even want me to know about it.
So you're saying that no opportunity whatsoever was afforded you to respond to these matters?
At all, because they knew that these allegations, if it got to my notice, they would be in trouble. Because the military that I know, you cannot even be one, for the first time, even fraudulent, and still survive. They will charge you, they will court-martial you, you'll be dismissed with disgrace, and even go for prison sentence. They don't countenance those things, let alone for it to become consistent. You understand my point? So you realize that now when you take that letter, in service writing of military letters, you have the introduction, you have the body of the letter, and then you have the recommendation part. Now the recommendation part emanates from the body of the letter, which is the crux of the issue. So if you are talking about consistently fraudulent, all these serious crimes, your recommendation cannot be that he should be released on lack of application or interest. It's contradictory.
Mr. Jakpa, during your service, you are saying that at no point were you confronted with some of these
Not at all.
Including the fact that you owed an officer $100, you took the military...
No, that was 300, not 100.
$300, it took the intervention of the military to virtually hold on to your salary before that money was paid. You're saying that this does not happen?
Let me explain to you. You see, they spoke about $300 to the unit PRI. It's an account in the unit. But that account is a city account. And there's no regulation in the armed forces that permits the unit in Ghana here to be spending dollars and loaning dollars to service personnel. Because we don't spend dollars in the military here. Unless you are on international peacekeeping operation outside the country. But in the unit PRI, it's not operated in dollars. And in any case, for you to give someone dollars, the person would have applied for it, signed, before you give it to the person. And then if you are talking of deducted from my salary, I should have seen it in my pay slip.
And it didn't happen?
Not at all. I should have seen my pay slip money gone down. I mean, not at all. So it's completely strange.
The military, I know, is a very disciplined institution. So it is quite...
It's baffling.
It is quite surprising to me, for example, that an officer... I mean, these words will be written about an officer, and that officer was not given the opportunity to defend himself or to respond to these allegations. That then 17 years on, you are getting to see or hear of these allegations for the very first time. This is very strange, Mr.
It's very strange, my brother, and that is why I'm contesting it, and that is why my lawyers are going to subpoena the military command
to come and explain this letter.
To come and provide evidence to the consistent fraudulent conduct, the institutions that I owe, the people that I owe, the military trial proceedings that took place that conclusively found me guilty for them to write such a thing about me. Would have copied me, would have confronted me, would have given me the natural justice for me to even defend myself.
All right, let's leave it here because you say that your lawyers, they've written to the military high command.
But then even go on the letter.
So that we can move to other...
Okay, the letter, if you look at the letter very well.
Right.
The letter is from Army headquarters. Military officers, they have their units. I was under Recce Regiment. And the Recce Regiment is under a Southern Command headed by a Brigadier General. So we respond directly to that Southern Command. Then from there to the Army headquarters. So if you are writing something like this, you should have been quoting references from which this complaint
was
made from. But you look at the letter, there are no references on that letter at all. So it meant that the Army headquarters on its own, out of a vacuum, created this story of consistently fraudulent, owing people institution, because they didn't reference anything. And when you look at the letter again, you see that they've underlined. It's underlining, which means that the chief of staff would have read that letter and taken note of those areas. If he does that, he will comment on it. You write a minute, he will comment on it. But there's nothing like that. And then if the letter indeed went to the chief of staff office from the army headquarters, you would have seen receipt stamp or the chief of staff office receipt on it. So this letter that they are throwing around, claiming it to be my release letter, which is not true. It was a recommendation signed by a dead military officer. But
you accept the recommendation, but you are disputing the words they used to describe it.
Yes.
You're also saying that you were not privy to this letter.
Yes, as you can see, it is not my release letter as they are throwing it around. They are very ignorant and mischievous. That is one. Two, the content there, I'm not privy to them. I've not been confronted. I've not been charged on them. You
are also saying that at no point did the military recommend your release from the service.
No, I can't say they didn't recommend. I'm not privy to that. But this particular recommendation,
you are contesting it.
I'm contesting it. And the letter by Nitiwul is even the worst of it all. He quoted unsatisfactory, which falls under item 2, clause C.
Perhaps referencing this letter signed by MGK Ahiaglo.
If he's referencing from this letter, then he has a problem. Because I don't see a Minister of Defense will be sending a letter to an Attorney General to tell the Attorney General this is the reason he was released. The reason I was released is premised on the official release letter, not on the recommendation.
And what reason is stated on that letter?
Which letter?
The official letter you claim that
the official letter is item 2, clause A.
Tell me about it.
And clause A deals with lack of application or interest, service terminated.
Lack of application or interest?
Or interest.
Interest in what? In your continuous service
termination? Yes,
and lack of application, doesn't that answer these words?
No, you see, when they say lack of application or interest, if you don't have interest, you will not apply yourself in anything anymore. That's why it's a lack of or interest. In 2005, I applied to leave the service because of the consistent persecution by the MPP government at that time and their military, those military guys in the armed forces who were aligned to the government and not doing their professional work, rather. So they were persecuting me, victimizing so much that I had to prepare myself to leave the service. So I did this private investigation course, which we'll be coming to. Then I took an entrepreneurship course in the Netherlands to go into business. After that, I established my 2 companies, Jakpa Business and Raj Treasure Ventures in 2005. So immediately I established these 2 companies. I applied to leave the military to go and pursue my business. Then the response that came was that my reasons for requesting to resign were not cogent. So they declined my request to leave the service. 2 years down the line, you terminate my service under lack of application of interest. And that is okay because I lost interest.
Because you had already indicated that.
Yes, I lost interest. So for me, when that letter came, I wasn't surprised because I lost interest and I wanted to go and pursue my business. And as soon as I left, 2 months later, I won a contract, more than €500,000 to supply coffee beans. So it tells you I had prepared myself for that. And I wanted to leave.
Let's stay with the business angle to this story. Okay. And we'll come to also your cousin, the Supreme Court judge. But this is Richard Jakpa, the third accused in the ongoing ambulance trial. Your comments, questions are welcome via social media handles. We will look into other areas as well. So if you just tuned in, we're having a conversation with Richard Jakpa, the third accused in the ambulance trial. This is Joy News and this is The Pulse. So from coffee beans, and then from coffee beans to ambulance,
you see,
or facilitating the importation of ambulance.
No, you see, an entrepreneur is someone who you look at society, you look for the problems in society, and then you come up with solutions for those problems. And when you create that solution, throughout the solution, you'll be able to get a business. And out of it, you'll be able to make profit. So the problems.
So therefore, the genesis of this ambulance was your idea. Is that what you're saying?
Pardon?
The genesis of this ambulance was your idea.
100% my idea.
You pitched it to the minister. 100%. And the minister bought into it.
The blueprint, everything emanated from me. Because I'm an entrepreneur. We create things. We solve society's problems. We sit down, we think, and we solve them. We find solutions to problems.
And the late Sherry was the minister then?
No. It started from Honorable Sepayanki. You know, he was the first minister of the late President Ato.
George Sepayanki.
Yes, he was the first minister, 2009. But that was when the first SONA, State of the Nation address by Atta Mills, he spoke about lack of ambulance in the country. And it was serious. And that was one of his priorities. So as soon as I heard it, as an entrepreneur, immediately I put a team together and tasked them to go across the country to find out the state of our ambulance. They went round, they spent some time, and we realized we had about 34 ambulances or so in the country. And that was serious. So we put together a proposal. But I thought that, look, this is a new government. They don't have ready cash to pay upfront. So to make my offer juicier, let me contact my bank, which was Stanbic Bank, discuss with them and see whether they will get on board and let them know the business sense of it, the cash flow that will be coming over 15 to 20 years of the business and to come into their bank. So they will be making money. So I went to my bank. It was headed by Andani.
Alasan Andani, the former MD of Stanbic.
Yes, yes. So I approached them. They got their corporate department to sit down with me. I explained the business plan to them, the cash flow that will be coming and everything, and indulge them to get involved to finance this project.
And at this time, you were yet to approach the Ministry of Health or the government?
I hadn't approached them yet because I had to put my house in order before sending the proposal to them. Because the technical specification for the ambulance was already done. Now I needed the financial package to be added. So I needed to get myself involved, undertake some financial engineering to get the bank to be interested to get on board. Then when I send the package to the government, here is my proposal. I'm adding a loan facility for you, government. So use it to finance the ambulance. You pay over 3 years. That will reduce burden on your budget because you're a new government. I hope you understand.
Right.
So this was how I orchestrated it. And luckily for me, I was able to convince the bank. They sought permission, approval from their directors in South Africa. It was approved. And then they ring-fenced the 15.8 million euros for this project and gave me the term sheet. They signed it nice. It was signed. So I attached it to the proposal. And then we wrote officially to Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health looked at the technical specification of the ambulance, the term sheet. Their own is the technical specification of the ambulance. But the financial term sheet is not within their domain.
Right.
It's for the Ministry of Finance. So they forwarded the whole documents to Ministry of Finance. And they copied my company, that Dave Health were interested because it wasn't going to be a burden on the budget. It will be 3 years' time to pay, and there's even a moratorium. So it was easy for them. So as soon as they copied my company, then I realized that government was interested. Health was interested. And they only wanted finance advice on the term sheet, which falls under the domain of finance. So as soon as we got that letter, we said, okay, then we are in business. We started scouting out for manufacturers because we had our technical specification. Then a friend of mine introduced our company to a manufacturer in Dubai, which is Big C. So we started informal negotiation on the phone, text messages, just as we do business. So we got to a stage where we felt we were comfortable, and then I organized visa for them to fly down to meet face to face. We concluded the negotiation in 2011. So we signed an agency agreement for the whole of West Africa, excluding Nigeria, because we were going to promote the business to the whole of West Africa. Ambulance, it's not only ambulance.
Business of supplying ambulance.
Ambulance, because they manufacture, and they needed a representative in this region for them to expand to. And they only had one in Nigeria, and they couldn't dominate the West African sub-region. And I was prepared for that. And I had what it took to do that.
So basically, you started as the originator of the idea.
Yes.
And at some points,
we brought
per your own explanation, you became an agent.
Yes, that's the whole thing. So the blueprint It's me. No, I know in and out of the whole thing. So when they came on board, we now had to cede the project to Big C and became their exclusive agent for the whole of West Africa. And it's not only ambulances, because they are into building of hospital, build, operate, and transfer, BOT. They are into all these projects. So we were to promote everything across West African countries. Build, they will bring their own money, build it, operate it for some years, and transfer to government.
But the agency role that you played,
yes,
from the explanation you are providing, it suggests to me that it was only for Nigeria. As far as Ghana was concerned, this was your idea. You were just looking for a company that could manufacture the ambulance and then ship it down. And then they said they want to expand to West Africa. So when the West Africa came, you became an agent. No. As far as Ghana is concerned, you were just only interested in getting them to manufacture and then ship them down to Ghana, because that was your idea. You didn't need them as an agent to do that at that time.
No, you see, as an entrepreneur, you must think steps into the future. They came on board, they were interested. They saw how I structured things. They had a chat with me, and they thought that, no, this man, if we give him the whole of West Africa, we'll make a lot of money in this our project. We'll be able to expand our market across the world. So that is why instead of giving Jakpa at business only Ghana, they decided to give the whole of West Africa because of our presentation and what they had seen and the way we managed to do the financial engineering to bring Stanbic Bank and got government to be interested. They realized that we've got what it took to dominate the West African sub-region. But prior to their coming to us, they already have one rep in Nigeria. So they couldn't add that. And that's why Nigeria was excluded. But apart from Nigeria, all other West African countries, they added to Ghana for us. So our territory was not only Ghana, but the whole of West Africa to promote ambulance and hospital construction and then hospital equipment.
So one of their specialties is the fact that they manufacture ambulances.
They manufacture ambulances. In fact, it's not manufacture, it's conversion.
Okay. Converting vehicles
into ambulances.
For want of a better word, cargo vehicles into ambulances.
It's not cargo. You see, this is another thing that people get wrong.
I mean, the trucks that came could have best be described as cargo.
No,
because there was nothing in the vehicle.
No.
I remember I was a parliamentary correspondent then. The first consignment that came, they were parked at Parliament House.
Yes.
I did a story about it.
Yes.
My cameras saw the inside of the vehicle.
Yes.
There was actually nothing inside. The only thing you could point to was the two, the driver's seat and the passenger seat, and then the interior decoration. In terms of the body of the vehicle, there was actually nothing inside.
You see, I think you have the pictures.
Of course, we'll go.
You have the pictures. So once we've brought it up, I'll be very glad you put the picture there for people to say you can dissect that. Now, the first 10 ambulances that came, they were vandalized at the port because the Ministry of Health was not interested to clear them.
Vandalized by who? Miscreants or?
Yes, at the port. And that is why the subsequent ones, the Ministry of Health agreed with the supplier, and Animana signed that, and there's a letter to that effect, that all subsequent shipments, the accessories should be separated from the ambulance itself and shipped separately, and they will clear them. And there's a letter to that effect, and it's tendered in court. So it is erroneous to create the impression that the accessories were just shipped with a government agreement. Government has signed to that, and there's a letter to that effect. So they knew the accessories were coming, and the accessories arrived in November 2016.
So at the time I did my report in Parliament, if you were to explain this to a 6-year-old, a 6-year-old who has been told that ambulance is coming, this 6-year-old, goes to Parliament to look at the ambulance. The boot is open, and all the 6-year-olds see are just, the driver's seat and the passenger seat, where the fittings are supposed to be. The 6-year-old sees nothing. How do you explain to this 6-year-old that indeed this can best be described as an ambulance?
Okay. You see, in the conversion of ambulance, there are 3 stages. We've got the base vehicle. Like you go and buy your Land Cruiser, or you buy your Aboboya, or you buy your Toyota Haze van. That is the base vehicle. Then you have the from that stage, you then move to the conversion stage. In the conversion stage, and if I had given you the contract, you would have seen that the base stage is Annexia A. And then Annexia B is the conversion stage, where you now strip the Land Cruiser. If you take a Land Cruiser for it, you now strip it bare. You remove all the seats out. You strip everything from it, because you're not doing a conversion. That's the second stage. And now you begin fixing, designing the compartment, the wiring, and everything in. That is the conversion stage. After you finish with all that, the suction, where you connect them, all those things, you're done. So the ambulance you went and inspected, you saw that the conversion stage was done. So when you go in, you see the connections, the air conditioning system, the monitors, and all the wiring. That is the conversion stage. It was complete.
But I was not ready then.
Wait. Then you move to the last stage, which is in the contract Annexia C. That is ambulance equipment and fittings. That is where you are now bringing the equipment, defibrillators, all the disposables and all those things, to now fix them into the conversion state, what you had created, the compartments and all those drawers that you had created. You now be fixing them. In fact, the Annexia C stage is just, for example, okay, this phone is supposed to be in this compartment 2, you put it inside there. Gloves compartment 3, you put it there. Defibrillator is supposed to be connected, fixed here, you fix it there. That one is not a work. It's just pick and fix and drop them inside. So when you are shipping ambulances, most often you will ship the ambulance after they finish the conversion stage. And the equipment one, because at times you don't want on the high sea waves, they will be hitting each other and be dangling in the compartment and all those things. You
ship them separately.
Separately, so that when they arrive, all that you do is that you just pick it. Okay, this gauze is supposed to go here. This gloves is supposed to go here. The mobile phones that you use in communicating is supposed to be in this compartment, and you put them. That is all that it meant.
So when Mr. Jakpa,
I hope you get it now.
I'm following.
Good.
So Mr. Jakpa, when you packed those supposed ambulances at Parliament, what was the intention? To present to the public that the ambulance are in, or were they there for further, fittings?
Now let me explain. You see, when the ambulances were shipped, there was an accompanying letter to the government. And the letter was very explicit. In fact, I read it in court just today. I think, was it on Tuesday? I read it in court. The letter states that the ambulances that are coming, clear them and pack them in a safe place. The technical team, they will come and fix all the other accessories in them. You will train the paramedics, test all the equipment, because when you fix the equipment, you now come to fix the phones and all those other things. You have to test them and be sure they are all working. They are just fittings. The ambulance is already designed. So you come and fix them, test them, they are all working. Okay, you train the paramedics. This is how you use this equipment. This is how you use this equipment. After you finish training them, and the ambulance are up to 50, because the contract is in 4 tranches. Every tranche you hand over after you train the paramedics and they know everything. Then you hand over to them. So these ambulances that were being cleared, the 30, they came in 10. It was just for the government to clear them.
And then?
Pack them at a safe place.
And then wait for the engineers to come and do
Thank
their
you.
work.
And wait for them, because the accessories will be fitted into them. Paramedics will be trained. The ambulances will be tested, their equipments. It will be handed over to you as government. Then now you take possession as yours. Then if you, after that, you want to say that, the equipment that you put in, they are not working properly, this and this, then you may have a case. I hope you understand. But then this letter states that just pack them. And then you pack them. You know the accessories are on the way. They are even at the port. When MPP took over, the accessories were already in the port. And you have this letter. But you mischievously decided not to disclose this letter to Ghanaians. You mischievously decided not to tell Ghanaians that, the accessories are at the port. They are just to come and put them in their compartments, which are already been created. You didn't tell Ghanaians that. Then you decide to send somebody like you to the ambulance, who is not an expert in ambulance conversion and all those things. That, come and see, they are empty. There's nothing in them. Go and tell Ghanaians the ambulance came, they are empty, they are trotro. This is disingenuous.
In this case, which is ongoing in court, and of course, I've seen a lot of comments on our social media handles. I'll run them through with time. And because this is a live matter in court, there are certain areas we will not go into. But again, the word defective has been introduced in this whole conversation. You've used it in court.
No, I tried to tell the Attorney General.
I've heard Attorney General use that.
And I tried to tell him that
effective ambulances were imported in the country. You failed to deliver on this, contract. On this contract, how do you respond to it?
Yeah. In fact, when he used the word defective, I was surprised as a lawyer.
Defective because of the foundation I laid.
Yes, but
the word defective came and become very pronounced.
It is not at all, because this was ambulances that had not yet been handed over to you as government. You had been told that accessories were at the port yet to be put in. Now, if we had put the accessories in, you had cleared the accessories and you put them in the ambulance, and then we've done the testing and handed them over to you, and you find something that is contrary to the contract, and you say defective, I wouldn't argue with you. Mm-hmm. But here's the case, it's not handed over to you. The accessories at the port, you have not cleared them. They have not been fitted. They have not been tested. Then you come to court and say defective. On what basis? You cannot describe an uncompleted assembling of a vehicle as defective. That is disingenuous. It's either you don't understand that term, that technical term, or you are just misleading the court to have your way. And that is what I try to explain to the court, that the word defective it does not apply on that. It doesn't apply. You can only say something is defective when you have even tested it. But here's the case, you have not tested any equipment of the ambulance, let alone to arrive at the word defective.
We'll bring the state of the ambulance now to our viewers who are watching, and the matter whether defective ambulance were brought into the country, I guess is the matter the court will have to come to a determination on. But when the MPP came to power and decided to probe this matter, you're one of those who were arrested. And then along the line, for your own account, and this is the part of this development that your cousin, Justice Kulendi, the respected Justice Kulendi, this is the part that he comes in. You called him and he facilitated your release from, is it police custody? Is that what happened?
Yes, that's what happened. What happened?
Why did you have to use an influential person to get you out of police custody?
You see, prior to this issue, I go, my cousin's house, it's my home. It's my home. Because we belong to the same clan. It's my own. We are direct first cousins. In fact, we were even living together when he was going to university, in my father's house, around Flagstaff House, those tall buildings you see in front of the Flagstaff House. Right. We were all in Block C.
Jubilee House, you mean?
Jubilee House. Well, I call it Flagstaff House. So those military buildings in front of the Block C, that is where Kulendi and we were all living as a family, because my father is his direct uncle, and we are a family. I go to his house often, and I used to see Godfrey Dami in the house there, but he wasn't my friend. He wasn't my friend. I meet him there casually. He wasn't my friend. Maybe.
He was not the Attorney General then?
No, I think he was a Deputy Attorney General then. So he wasn't my friend. I meet him, I pass, we converse as brother with Justice Kulendi, then I go my way. Then he became the Attorney General. Then he charged me to court. I was given the harshest of the bail conditions. 5 million, 3 sureties, 1 to be justified with property to that amount of money. I met the conditions. Now, they employed administrative tactics in order to be able to put me behind bars. And I felt it was unfair. That, we need to get Land Commission to revalue the property that way. But even though the property had already been valued with valuation report and everything, no, we want it to be revalued by Land Commission. And Land Commission cannot work today. They will come next week to come and work. And when they finish in a week's time, then it can be admitted, which means they are going to put me in police cells for about a week. It is pure...
Because you had not met the bail conditions.
No, I had met the conditions.
But they needed to do further evaluation.
But, hold on.
And you can't fault them for that.
No, hold on. I wasn't the only person that the bail conditions were given. Ato Forson was given 3 million bail bond, self-cognizant bail. He went and signed and walked away. Animana was given 1 million, a property worth 1 million. He also came with the same documents. They didn't tell him that they are going to land commission to go and do re-evaluation of it. It was admitted, and he also walked away. So I was the only one singled out that yours will have to go to land commission for re-evaluation, in which may take a week. I hope you now understand that. Good. So I was singled out for that kind of treatment, and I felt it was not fair. So knowing the Attorney General, that he had now become Attorney General, and I used to see him at Justice Kulendi's house, I called him, and I said, bro, I've made the bail conditions.
You called the Attorney General?
Yes, I called. He couldn't pick because, I called Justice Kulendi.
For Justice Kulendi to intervene on your behalf?
Yes, so I called him and I complained to him. I complained to him that I've made the bail conditions. All the other 2 accused, they are gone. I'm the only one left in the court here. And I've met all the conditions that they asked me. But they are using administrative tactics not to admit them, and then they want to put me in for about a week. Then say, oh, but if you've made the bail conditions, why are they employing such dirty tactics? He will get back to me.
Those are the words he used?
Yes, he will get back to me. No, in fact, we couldn't talk on phone. It was WhatsApp I sent to him. He will get back to me. Then I was there. Then the Iyoko took me from the court to the Ministry's police station. In fact, they started doing their entries to put me in. Because it was getting to 3. And they said they will have to go to Lands Commission, and that will take about a week. So they were going to check me in. So while they were doing the processing, then my phone rang. When I picked it, was my cousin. Then he said, oh, he's with the Attorney General, so I should hold and talk to Attorney General. So Attorney General got onto Justice Kulendi's phone and said, oh, my brother, don't worry, we'll sort this thing out. I'll get them to tell the investigator to take you back to the courts, and they will accept the bail condition that you had already submitted. So I shouldn't worry. Then, so when he said that, that I should tell the investigator, I knew the investigator would not believe me. Mm-hmm. So I let me give the phone to the investigator. So I handed over the phone to Roxanne, who was an investigator from Iyoko. So when I handed it, he wanted to talk now, then because it was on loudspeaker. He said, no, why do you hand over to the investigator? The investigator cannot hear him talking on this issue. So I took the phone back from the investigator. Then the investigator took me back to the court. And then my bail conditions were accepted. So it told us that
they were out?
Yes.
So therefore you would say that the influence of the respected Supreme Court judge helped in getting you out of the police cells? Yes,
of course. And he was seeking justice. He wanted justice to be done. So he was seeking justice. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary. It's justice he was seeking. If the man has made the bail conditions and you've allowed another person to bring his documents and you didn't say the documents should go to land valuation for him to, which is just 1 million, and you allowed it, why would this man there, his own should go to Lands Commission for about 1 week and for him to be put in?
You think it's not fair. You think he did that because you guys are related?
No, but that didn't fall within his purview. He's my cousin. He's not the Attorney General. He's not the executive arm of government. All that he did was that his family member is being treated unfairly. And it is his right to seek justice. To say, look, he's not asking for any preferential treatment. Just let the law work. He has brought his bail conditions. If you feel it has to go to Land Commission to be re-evaluated, apply the same to the other accused. But don't single him out and give him that kind of treatment. And for me, that was all that he was seeking.
That was all that he was seeking.
So he was just being justice that he was just seeking. So he did nothing out of the ordinary.
And further on to that, the relationship then developed, where you now
from there
meetings with the Attorney General. Some have suggested, and indeed it's something I'm trying to get you to clear. Did you use your relationship with the learned Supreme Court judge, His Lordship Justice Kulendi? Did you exploit it to your advantage, knowing very well that this is a family member? Because of the recording and other matters, this came out of it.
Not at all. I don't operate that way. In fact, if you know me personally, and you ask all those who know me, I'm the type, I don't patronize people. And I can tell you here, on the next letter, I'm a type who is a nonconformist. And I don't patronize people. I tell you the way it is, take it or leave it. Hate me or like me. That's your opinion, and that's your problem. But I live on my principle. So I have enemies, I have detractors, but that's part of life. You can't please everybody, and you can't let them dictate the principles in your life and how you should live your life. And that's the way I believe how life is supposed to be. Now, let's get back to the issue. After my cousin intervened with the Attorney General, in fact, so after that, I called my cousin and said, oh, if you could send me the Attorney General's number, I want to thank him. So he gave me the number. Then I sent a message to the Attorney General thanking him. So if you look at the message, I thanked him for the kind gesture and all those things. Because you must show appreciation. They were playing their game. He got to know that I'm related to Justice Kulendi, who is his friend. And I think they were all in Nana Akufo-Addo's chambers some time back. So they know each other. But still, I have to still show appreciation for that. And that was the first time he got to know.
Couldn't you have allowed your cousin, the Supreme Court judge, to do that on your behalf?
Oh, no. You see,
because this is the same Attorney General who is seeking to put you in jail. Was this an attempt to create a relationship that could benefit you at the end of the day?
Not at all. You see, when you show appreciation to somebody directly from you, the impact is different from a third person showing appreciation on your behalf. That is why I felt that
you should do that.
I should show appreciation myself. And then, so I sent and I showed appreciation. And then I felt that, look, I have been charged wrongly. And this man, MPP is a government, he's a new Attorney General. He doesn't have hindsight of the history, the antecedents. And that is why he's added me to them. And I'm rather the victim, occasioned by Sir Jakpa and Sher Aiti.
And you've described them as evils. Why?
I'll get to that, so that we don't mix the whole conversation. So I felt like he needed to get the real picture to understand that an agent, I can't be responsible for the acts of my principal. So after showing my appreciation to him, I requested that, oh, I wish to humbly request for a private meeting with you at a time and venue of your convenience. That's at his discretion. I didn't state where I want to have the meeting, the time. I left that to his discretion. Then he responded, I will arrange that through your brother. In fact, when Justice Kulendi spoke to him to intervene in my bail, that is when he got to know that I was related to Justice Kulendi. So he said, I'll arrange through Justice Kulendi. So there's a common person that we all relate to. He is comfortable with Justice Kulendi because they have their roots from Akufo-Addo's chambers. He is his personal friend. He goes to his house all the time. Me too, we are blood relation. So we converge on Justice Kulendi. So in his mind, that is a comfortable ground to have that discussion, to meet me privately. Because he didn't want to meet me maybe in any neutral ground, in any other place.
Right.
So he opted for Justice Kulendi's place. And not that Justice Kulendi, out of the blue,
arranged the meeting.
No.
You met the AG yes. And then the intention was to tell him to get you off the hook?
You hold on. So Justice Kulendi called me that I should come home. The AG said that he want to have a discussion with me. I requested for a discussion with him, so I should come. So I went. That was an honoring of what the AG had already sent to me that he was going to arrange. Indeed, he arranged. So I went. So it's not anything, it has nothing to do with Justice Kulendi arranging for it. He only made himself available, his place available because...
For you to meet in his...
Thank you, because the AG was comfortable there. So I went there and I explained my side of the story to him. I had the opportunity to explain to him.
The reason why you should not be pursued.
Thank you. So from that, the AG realized that anytime he wanted me, he could pass through Justice Kulendi to get me in for a discussion. So from there, he now started arranging for the meeting. Justice Kulendi will call me, and I'll go. Not that I requested for the meeting. And then my first request, that ended it. From there, all other meetings is the Attorney General who will request, and I'll go for the meeting.
And then, good. And then you abuse this courtesy by recording the AG.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's where you get it wrong. You see, I'm a private...
But there's a recording.
Yes, I'm a private investigator. I've been an intelligence person for years. I operated covert operation underworld for so many years. There's a code of conduct, especially when it comes to family. I cannot go and conduct any espionage activities or covert operations in my cousin's house. That is my blood. And that his house is sacrosanct for us. We meet there, we discuss things, and it stays there. You go to your grave with it. So long as the Attorney General kept meeting me in Justice Kulendi's house, he was safe. Nothing could ever come out. No recording, nothing.
I asked because the Attorney General made himself available, perhaps because of the respect he had for Justice Kulendi. And again, I doubt that because... And then back to my question that you obviously abused this platform created by the Attorney General out of respect for the learned Justice of the Supreme Court.
It can only...
You have subjected him to public ridicule and condemnation.
No. If I may explain. You see, it is not out of courtesy for Justice Kulendi that Attorney General was meeting me in his house. Attorney General was rather taking advantage of Justice Kulendi's blood relation with me to pursue their political agenda in jailing Ato Forson. And he knew that Justice Kulendi is my blood relation, and Justice Kulendi will always call me, and I can't refuse to report to his house each time he called me. And that place there, he could pursue his agenda. So he was taking advantage of Justice Kulendi's friendship with him and friendship from the law, from the chambers that they all came from. He was taking advantage to get me there. So don't flip it. Okay. It is the other way around. Because all the discussion that he was having with me there was to inure to their political agenda, which he had been taxed by the president and Ken Oforata, as he told me just in this house, to pursue.
Your word against his?
Well, you can claim your word because he hasn't denied it in court. He hasn't got into the dock to deny it personally. And all the denial that he got his Deputy Attorney General and Jem Bibi to write couldn't stand. You see, they were all contradicted when the real audio came. Now, when he realized that he couldn't get what he wanted in Justice Kulendi's house, in using Justice Kulendi to impress so that he could get me to do their bidding, he now decided to contact me directly outside the protective confine of Justice Kulendi. So now he was calling me direct on my phone.
And you should also record?
Hold on. He called me, the first call that came. He gave me assignment to spy on A2, which is Dr. Seosamin Nemana, who claimed to be sick and admitted at the hospital. And I did that assignment for him. And I reported back to him on WhatsApp. He acknowledged and thanked me. All they are recorded and they are in court, and he never denied it. So it's nothing that can be denied about that. That is the first time he started using me outside the confines of Justice Kulendi. Then, on the 9th of April, 2024, early in the morning when I was on my way to see my lawyer, he called out of the blue again. Because earlier on, we had met in Justice Kulendi's house on 25th March night. Spoken into 26th, around 12 to 1 a.m., trying to get me to do their political bidding in order to jail Ato Forson, so that I can walk free, because he had assured me that everything had been arranged for me to be acquitted. So I shouldn't worry. But you know, knowing how these MPP politicians, their modus operandi, you can never trust them when you are negotiating with them. Don't trust them at all. So
and that's the reason why you recorded him.
No, the reason I recorded
the trust.
No. The reason why I recorded him was this.
And violating the privacy of.
I will explain to that. Now, the reason why I recorded him was this. When he called me that morning, if you realize, the evidence as submitted to court is 26 minutes conversation, but the recording is short of about 9-10 minutes. Now, you may want to find out why. It's because when he called me, the first time he called me to do the bidding for Animana, I've not provided any recordings to the court. Do you understand? That will tell you that that wasn't my intention. I did it for him and he thanked me, and that ended it. Right? Now, the second time he called me For about 9-10 minutes that we were talking, I realized that he wanted me to commit crimes. He was taking me for a fool, trying to use me, abuse the brotherly relations that are developed between us as a result of our engagement in Justice Kulendi's house. Now he was trying to abuse it, and knowing very well that I am the one being accused and I want my liberty. So he was taking advantage over me.
The reason why you recorded?
Hold on. So when we were conversing on the phone, and I realized that he was trying to push me to do things criminally against Ato Forson. And he had already done that in Justice Kulendi's house. And I didn't record because that place, for me, is a safe place.
But Mr. So Jakpa, the recording, that everybody is aware of. Yeah. All of us are privy to it. Nowhere do you hear the name of Ato Forson mentioned in that conversation.
It's because, you see, the conversation has got a premise coming from Justice Kulendi's house on 25th March to 26th March. That heated discussion we had. In fact, we had already spoken on phone on that 25th night around 10 to 11. And then I was asked to come home, and I went and met him there when he was supposed not to be there. And he confronted me physically, and we had quarrel. So I knew what he wanted, and I refused. So when he called, and he was trying to impress upon me to answer questions and interpret LCs and things in the way he thinks it should be, contrary to what is supposed the truth. It's all leading to, because we're the only two people in court that he has charged.
Right.
So telling me that it bore no risk to me and all those things. Why no risk to me? So who does it bear risk to? It's Ato Forson.
Your interpretation of what
I'm coming because of what we had already discussed in my cousin's house.
And again, in terms of evidence sake and what you have put before court, the name doesn't show up anywhere.
No, hold on. So see, it's in several parts of the conversation. So he's pushing me to interpret it skew my interpretation of the LC in a particular angle. That will fit into his theory, right? And you realize that Ato Forson is being charged on an LC. Get that? So put it in a context. Ato Forson is charged on an LC.
An LC means letters of credit.
Thank you. So for him to be impressed upon me, to skew my interpretation of the LC, to be in tandem with his theory, who is he getting at? Is it me? No, I didn't establish LC. I didn't write for LC to be established. It's Ato Forson. So this one, you don't need any rocket science to understand that. And it will bear no risk to me. Okay. And we are the only two. So if it's not me, it will be the other person. And already, I knew what had been discussed in my cousin's house.
All right.
So I decided that, look, where the conversation is heading towards is criminally pregnant.
You needed an insurance.
So I needed to immediately record it. And I started recording. And lo and behold, now he moved from Ato Forson, now trying to get me to commit crimes and mislead the court and deceive the judge. Now I should go and procure excuse duty, lie to the court that I am sick and incapable of coming to court, so that he could travel. Why will you ask that from me? It's because you and I have a certain brotherly friendship for you to feel that I can do that kind of criminal favor for you. And you feel that I'm so vulnerable, you can abuse me, and then because I want to be freed, I'll be doing those kind of things for you.
I'll be taking a short break. But
I hope you understand it now.
Yes, I'm following. I'll be taking a short break. So, do you have more recordings?
Well, I have something, but what I've given to court is what I've given to court.
Because we've been told by the NDC communications officer that you have more recordings you intend to present to the court. That's what I'm asking.
No, I'm done. I'm done being cross-examined. I'm done with everything.
So you are not presenting any more recordings?
You see, there's one thing you must understand. You are running a country. And from my security training over the years, everything that you do that borders on national security and stability of the country, you must be very careful.
Right.
Democracy borders on rule of law. So if you are going to do anything that will bring serious mistrust in our judicial system, you must be very careful what you divulge and what you don't divulge. Because at the end of the day, you must be a responsible citizen. You must do everything possible to protect the democracy that we are in. not only for your interest.
And there's a reason why you're not releasing more.
So if there are evidence that, in my estimation, in my assessment,
borders on national security,
borders on national security, borders on instability of the country, will scandalize the judiciary and other things, and I decide that I will not divulge them. It's my decision.
All right.
No one can force me to do that.
Let's hold on. When I come back from this short break, I'll ask you whether this has affected your relationship with His Lordship Justice Kulendi, and why you've chosen to describe the former Finance Minister Secretary and, of course, the late Shehu Aite as evil, and, of course, why you've taken a swipe at the presiding judge. These are the questions I will seek answers from as we wrap up the conversation.
So which one do you want to tackle first?
We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll deal with that.
Okay.
This is the pause here on Joy News. My guest is the third accused in the ambulance trial, Richard Jakpa. When we come back, we'll have more. Stay right there. Welcome back to the pause here on Joy News. My name is Elton Brobe, and my guest is Richard Jakpa. He's a businessman, but currently in court fighting for accusation or allegation of causing financial loss to the state in the ambulance trial. So, Richard, before we went on the break, we were on Justice Kulendi. I just want to find out this development, how has that affected your relationship with the learned judge?
Not at all. In fact, he knows very well that no recording in the face was done in his house. That one, he's 100% sure about that. And then he also knows that when I made the first allegation in court, I never mentioned his name. It is rather the Attorney General and his media surrogates that brought his name up. And then, because you see, they were preempting.
But did he know that you had recorded the Attorney General?
Yeah, I told him. In fact,
before the recording was made public?
Before the phone was made public, they had already, the attorney, when I made the first, I gave the first teaser in court, the Attorney General got in touch with him and complained to him that I had recorded him in his house because he knew we'd be meeting there. So the justice called me, my cousin called me that, the Attorney General complained that we've recorded him in my house. And I said, no. All this time, I had not yet released
the recording.
The recording had already been released. So the Attorney General, was preempting. And because he's been meeting me there for all this while, he thought that was where the recording was done. And then he knew he was calling me on WhatsApp. And for him, recording couldn't be done on WhatsApp because it's encrypted. But it's just because he doesn't understand technology and it's not in my field. So he thought it must be in Justice Kulendi's house and nowhere else, because he never called me direct phone except through WhatsApp. And that place, it couldn't be recorded, that to him. So he confronted Justice Kulendi, who also called me. I went to the house and I told him the truth. Because Justice Kulendi, we are cousins. I can't go and lie to him. He's my blood. I must tell him the truth, 100%. He can be angry with me, we'll have our problem, but we are blood, we'll continue moving together. So I told him the truth that, look, I never did this in your house, and I can never do that in your house. And he said, did you record him? I said, yes, I recorded him. And I recorded him on my way to my lawyer. So that recording is with me. And there are other recordings not in your house. Not in your house at all.
And these are the ones you said that because of national security, you will not make it up.
Yeah, there are other communications and other things. I'm not going to, it's out. No. So I told him the truth. And he said, okay. So I said, so tell them that no recording was done in your house. You are not involved in anything. You have been kind to him, and he's been using your house to pursue his agenda.
So this hasn't affected relationship at all?
It cannot.
You made the recording available to the NDC. Why? Are you a member of the NDC?
Well, I'm a sympathizer of the NDC, and I've been an operative for the NDC for years. So
you're a member of the NDC?
I'm a member.
A card-bearing member?
Not a card-bearing member. As I told, I'm not
in 2008, you played an active role in the affairs of the NDC.
Yes, of course.
You were a member of the team that was in the EC strong room when the late Mills was bidding to become president.
Yes,
that should make you a very key member of the NDC. Yes,
as I told you, it's because of this case that I'm on the limelight. I operate behind the scene. I'm a covert operative. I will have people who are on air, who are cabinet members. They do their political things. I don't do politics. I'm an operative, I'm an intelligence guy. I operate behind the scene. That is my job. I don't like the limelight. But this case has now brought me out. So, yes,
you are a member of the NDC.
I'm a sympathizer
and that possibly explains why you decided to give.
I'm a sympathizer of the NDC. That's how I would describe myself. And the strong room you are talking about, yes, indeed, yes. Roger Metilninu and myself were represented at Amels in the strong room in 2008.
Few months after being discharged from the Ghana military.
No, I was discharged in 2007.
2007.
Election was
in 2008.
2008 December, about 1.5 years. So that is completely different.
But 1.5 years to be trusted with the responsibility of managing the results of the presidential elections, that obviously means that your relationship with the NDC back then was so tight that they could trust you with that responsibility.
It's because NDC has its appendage from the PNDC. And my father was very instrumental in PNDC. In fact, he was one of those who they went and released Rawlings from jail. And from there, he became the Armed Forces Secretary for the Committee for the Defense of the Revolution. They defended the AFC. They defended the revolution until the 92, we moved into democracy. And they continued until 2000. So he was an integral part of the survival of the revolution. You understand? And into NDC. So it's a family issue.
It runs through the blood.
It runs through the blood. So you cannot jettison Jakpa from NDC. It's just not possible.
Yet you've taken on people like the late Sherry Ayite and, of course, the former finance minister, Tepe. You've described them as evils. Why?
Because they were not thinking about the general interest of Ghanaians because we didn't have ambulance. And Ghanaians needed ambulance. And they were thinking about their personal interest.
Explain further.
Further because Sherry Ayite, for instance, said, I should tell my principal to come and meet her halfway. And I said, what do you mean by halfway? And she said, oh, you're a businessman. You should know when someone tells you to meet him halfway, you should understand. So go and tell them.
Did she explain the meaning of halfway?
That's what she said.
Just now you pay bribes?
She said, no, she didn't tell me bribes. All that she said was that, tell your principals to come and meet me halfway. If they want
what understanding did you get from that? If
they want this ambulance project to go through. And I told her that, I used to call her Ma. And I said, Ma, you are Minister of Environment. By the time you came, this contract had already been signed and was already moving on. Yours is just to send the team to go and inspect in fulfillment of the pre-shipment inspection clause. And governance is continuum. So you must send them. He said, Jakpa, I am not interested. Tell your principal that they should come down and come and meet me halfway. They should come and renegotiate and meet me halfway. And I said, what do you mean by halfway? He said, you're a businessman. You should understand when someone tells you meet him halfway.
She expected you to understand
halfway. That coded language.
No, but as an intelligence officer, that should come very naturally to you.
Pardon?
That you'll be able to, decode the meaning of halfway, and then,
Well, and so long as I was concerned, there was no halfway
to be met.
Because her predecessors never met my principals or me halfway. In fact, the contract was signed by Honorable Abraham Bagbin. Bagbin never demanded any halfway meeting.
The current Speaker of Parliament.
The current Speaker of Parliament. Not even a CD. Nothing for you to even interpret in that angle. He just did his work.
So by your suggestion, Sherry was demanding bribes?
Per my suggestion, well, that was the interpretation I was getting. That meet me halfway, you're a businessman. When someone tells you, you should understand what the person wants. That's what she said. It was a coded language. So, and I understood it from that angle. And I said, Ma, there's no halfway to meet you. They said, okay, fine. Then she walked away out of her office. So I followed her up. So that is where the issue started.
Right.
By that time, she had already written her letter to my principals, that they should stop productions, and then, they should come for renegotiation. It was all in tandem of meeting her halfway. But you see, I told her, I said, Ma, one thing you must understand. You as a minister, you don't have the authority to just cancel a contract or suspend a contract without recourse to the contract terms of termination or suspension. That is one. And if you are no longer interested in the contract, this contract went to Parliament, went to Cabinet, raise a memo back to Cabinet, and go and explain to Cabinet why you don't want this. And when Cabinet gives you the approval, you can go ahead. But on your own, you can't vary an internationally binding contract.
Already agreed upon.
Agreed upon, and production is going on. Monies have been committed by the supplier because there's no advance payment. So the supplier had to go and get his own loan to start production. And then you didn't even consult the Attorney General's office to give you advice on this letter you've written. And you on your own, you said this is stop production and that they should come for renegotiation. On what basis? He said, Jakpa, don't wear this your cap and come and be telling me law. You know, come and teach me law over here.
And I said, Tepe?
No, that was Dr. Ato for you. So Tepe own was very simple. After the approval by Parliament for the loan facility to be procured from Stanbic Bank to finance the ambulance so that it wouldn't put burden on the budget of government and to give government about 3 years to pay so they can allocate resources from the budget for other projects. Tepe took over. It had already been approved by Parliament, so you can't reverse it. Stanbic Bank has signed their column and forwarded it to Minister of Finance. In fact, Honorable Kobna Dufour was going to sign it before leaving for the drawdown to start. But then he said that, the new president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, had just nominated Sir Tepe
to take over from him.
To take over from him as vice. And Sir Tepe was going through the vetting process. So it would not be fair
for him to sign
for him to
that
sign
he was leaving office
when he is just leaving office and he knows Sir Tepe is coming. In any case, it has gone to Parliament. Stanbic has already signed. Everything has been done. It's just in the tray. When Sir Tepe comes, he will just come and sign it and the drawdown will just start. There's nothing to be done about it. So Sir Tepe was confirmed. He took over. The man handed over to him, and the man just disregarded what Parliament, the sovereign will of Ghanaians, wanted.
What explanation did he give?
He's the best person to explain. So for 2 years...
You don't even know as of now.
I'm telling you, for 2 years, this man refused to establish the LC, breaching the contract. And the contract is very specific, that the LC shall be established upon the signing of the contract, which is immediate. But for 2 years, Tepe would not even come. He doesn't want to even go there. He was interested in other things. So Big C had no other option than to serve the Attorney General notice to sue for judgment debt. The Attorney General perused all the documents Big C has submitted through their lawyers and came to the conclusion that Big C had a valid contract because all the contract terms had been met. So the Attorney General issued his legal opinion. And you and I know that Attorney General legal opinion is binding on all MMDAs of government. Because if you misconduct yourself as an institution of government, the one to defend you will be the Attorney General. So the Attorney General wrote to the Minister of Health that your conduct and then to Tepe will occasion judgment debt because this contract is valid. It has gone through all the processes. It's gone to PPA. And PPA is an institution on its own. They have a board and they have perused the contract, done everything and awarded it. So go ahead, you must proceed. And the word was, you must proceed to honor the terms of the contract. And what are the terms? The LC that is in the contract. You must honor it. But because for 2 years, Sir Tepe, for his own reasons, refused to obey the will of Ghanaians through the Parliament. When the pressure came from the Attorney General's office, he then wrote to Big C, and that letter to is in court, that, Big C should give him some time. He's arranging to establish the LC. 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, Ato Forson signed a letter for the LC to be established. So you can see the correlation. Good. So it was not established out of a vacuum. It was established based upon...
Because of the pressure that came from, and then the fact that we were in a position where we could be started with judgment debt.
Thank you. And the AG had made her position clear. But that's why one important issue. I want to link it. You see, when Sir Tepe wrote that letter to Big C, promising them and assuring them that he was processing the LC for them. So he's giving some time, he's getting it done. 3 weeks later, Ato Forson letter came. So you can see the correlation.
Right.
Good. So when Tepe came to court and said he authorized Ato Forson, it was very clear that he authorized because he had already promised Big C, he Tepe himself, in an official letter. And 3 weeks later, Ato Forson read that thing. And Ato Forson signed for the minister. And the minister was copied. And he had it. So if the minister didn't authorize Ato Forson to sign it, he would have immediately countered it because he had the power and stopped it. But he never stopped it.
The authorization, was it verbal or with documentary evidence?
You see, when you are working with your deputy, for instance, you can give your deputy verbal or memo. That is at your discretion based upon the exigency of the issue and where you are. In fact, to be frank with you, as at the time said Ato Forson was signed that letter, Tepe was in US. Wow. He was not even in the country. So you give the man a verbal instructions, you were outside the country, and the man is your deputy holding the fort. So he signs for you. You come back, you see the copy in your trail. The LC was still going the process of being finalized. If you're not the one who signed, what will you do? You just refer to it. So it's very clear. So,
the time is running up on us. Yeah. Let me ask, how much have you been paid in this whole enterprise?
Oh, well, I had to sue Big C. And I said, Jakpa business sued Big C in the High Court, Commercial Division. Because I had to go through the law. Because Big C was not paying Jakpa our services who rendered our entitlement. Because we didn't have any obligation to government. It was to our principal. And our principal has a contract with government. So for us, we don't have any issue with government. So we sued Big C for Big C to pay us for what we've rendered them.
How much?
Which was 28, I think 28.5 or 0.7%. I don't have it, but I know it's 28 point something.
Of the contract sum?
Of the contract sum. And that is because...
And how much would that come to?
Oh, that, I don't have it off yet, but I think if you take the 3.95 million euros, you take the 28 point something out of it, you get the figure.
It's 700,000 euros?
Well, it should be thereabouts. I'm not that specific, it's 700,000 exactly, but thereabouts. So, and that was not money Big C paid us willingly. We went to a court of competent jurisdiction with the same powers like the High Court trying us down. And we went through a full trial. Big C had its lawyers. They argued the case, we presented our case, we presented the services we rendered to Big C. After a full trial, the judge ordered Bank of Ghana to pay the portion of Big C in their business.
To you?
No, to the court account, not to Jakpa business. So if in fact Bank of Ghana paid Big C's part of Big C's money to the court account, then the case was still going on. Then after we have won the case against Big C and our reliefs were granted us, the court then ordered its own account to then pay Jakpa business. So technically, Bank of Ghana, the executive arm of government, never paid Jakpa business. Jakpa business was paid from the court's own account after a full trial. Do you understand that? So the LC that was established for the 3.9 million euros and the recipient was Big C was directly to Big C. Jakpa was not part of the business, was not part of it. I hope you understand.
I do.
And you know that in LC there are connection precedents. So if you are the recipient, no other entity can be paid through the LC except the recipient alone.
The components, where are they now?
It's one of the strange things that the government must be answering. Because the accessories came in 2016, November. Alex Sebefia, who was a minister,
8 years ago.
Yes, who was a minister of health, dealt with all this issue about Sheraite, what do you call it, Tepe, technical issues, post-delivery inspection. Alex Sebefia came, put all together, and he dealt with it. He cleared all that. He cleaned all that rubbish that was created. Oh, do you get my point? He cleared everything. And then it culminated into an addendum with obligations for government and obligation for Big C. And one of the obligations was that Big C send the accessories down. And one of the other obligations was that government, you will clear the accessories. The other obligations after clearing it informed Big C. Big C will send technical men to come and install them. trained paramedics, hand over the ambulance, and production continues. Matter close. Al-Esebufia did all that. Then when he finished, he wrote his final letter in November 2016 to Ministry of Finance that all the problems have been solved. There's only outstanding problem again. Accessories have been received, delivered. Proceed to establish the LC, renew the LC, so that they can produce the rest of the ambulances, 170 ambulances, for the people of Ghana. And then he handed over to Dr. Ajima Menu. And when they won the election,
the former health minister.
Thank you. So when the former minister took over, there were 2 letters to implement. The addendum to the main contract and the last letter of Al-Esebufia. All other letters prior to these 2 letters are no longer valid. They have been solved. And that's, surprisingly, that's the letter that Attorney General is standing in court talking about, which I've always been telling him they are irrelevant. He's being mischievous. So I went to Ajima Menu and I said, I sent those two documents. And I said, we'll have an addendum of government. This letter from Al-Esebufia for the contract to proceed. You have taken over as new government. Can we please implement them? Because the accessories are still at the port. They've been at the port for about 4 or 5 months. They need to be cleared so that the technical people can come down to install them so we can proceed. And the LC should be renewed. He said, Jakpa, I've seen this letter, but the ambulance project has been taken out of my hand. My hands are tied behind me. Now the party has taken over. That this project was entered into by NDC people. We also have to bring our own ambulance for our businessmen to make money. So
according to your words?
No, he told me. He didn't deny that we met in court. And I've said it in court.
Right.
But you see, I speak the truth. And I'm prepared to say it anywhere. He didn't deny that he had a meeting with me in his office. He has not denied that. He even said it in court. And he told the court that he wanted me to go and clear the accessories. And I told him that I am not the one to clear the accessories because I am not the consignee. Neither, and this accessories came under CIF, Temaport. So it is you who have to go and clear it and not the agent because we are not the consignee. I educated him. So he told me that the party are taking over and they have to also bring their businessmen to bring. And true to it, they went ahead and ordered the same model of the Mercedes-Benz. The van got a third-party company that also did the conversion, brought them into the country without accessories. They were packed for almost a year before they got accessories to fit them in Ghana here to distribute them. Is it different from our own? No.
Because your own is now a matter that is.
So what is good for the goose is good for the gander too.
Perhaps because maybe the reason why maybe government hasn't taken a step on it is because there are questions that needs to be answered, and that's the reason why you guys are in court. And I guess that the court will come to a determination on this matter. Few questions about your promotion. The letters that we read early on, the one from the defense minister, and the one signed by Ahiaglo Brigadier for the Chief of Staff. The claim is that, whilst in service, the period within which you should have made, you should have progressed in terms of your rank, you failed the promotion exam. Is it because you had lost interest in the military, like you yourself said, you wanted to even leave the service? That perhaps explains why you couldn't pass your promotion exams.
Not at all. Someone who went through 2 years training and was the top in his intake in skill at arms and won that award after 2 years training competing with his colleagues and won that award cannot be somebody who can suddenly, without any cause, lose interest in the armed forces. Weapon handling and anything that has to do with weapon, that's my passion. I'm a marksman. When I shoot, it's 1 bullet for 1 life. I hardly miss my shots. So the military is from my grandfather was in the Second World War. My father was in the military. My great-great-grandfather in the Jakpa was a warrior. So for us, battles, wars, security, military things is in our DNA.
But did you pass your promotion exam?
Now, They were victimizing me in the military because of the baggage my father left in the military when he was defending the revolution with the former president, with the late president, John Rawlings. And in doing that, you step on so many toes on senior officers. So when I entered the military, and the late president requested specifically that I should be posted to Reki, Gonda Barracks, which has never happened in the military. The senior officers took it like, this is a spy. It's an informant Jerry has put there to do what his father was doing. So it's a family thing. So I became like an endangered species in the officer corps. That senior officers were uncomfortable and they were dealing with me ruthlessly. So everything of mine, they were never happy about it. And will you be surprised that, you know, when in the military exams, we've got two types of exams. We've got the practical and the written. The practical, that one is not only one person who is going to sit in his or her room and mark your papers with his own marking scheme, because he will set the questions and he will set his own marking scheme. When it is approved, he will write the exam and he will mark for one particular subject. This military practical exams is a team. So you
practical
have
as in being on the field.
Be in the field.
To demonstrate.
To demonstrate practically. So that one you are in the field. Everybody is there. You are delivering. You are putting your plan into combat. You are delivering. The DS, the instructors are there. It's not only one person. They are all marking and they are scoring. When they finish, they put their average, they strike, and you have passed. So one person cannot
fail you.
Thank you. So that place, I went there once I passed.
You got everything right.
That's when I passed. Finished the practicals.
And then the theory.
Years back. Now the theory, there are different subjects. And each subject, you have a senior officer in charge. He will set the questions, prepare his marking scheme. When command approves it, and they will go and write, he will mark again and bring the results. So he can do whatever he wants to do, and that is small corner alone.
Questioning his integrity here.
Thank you. So now you realize that when it came to the practical, that individuals were handling marking on their own, and it's no more a team where you cannot play any games. Each time I wrote 2 papers. And in the military policy, you can write 20 exams, different subjects 20. If you fail 2, you have to rewrite all those that you have passed the next year. Not that, like in the civil sector, they will say if you fail 2, you go and write only the
one you failed.
The one you failed, because you passed the other ones already. You go and write, but the military, no. You have to rewrite all those you have passed again. A lot of stress.
And that frustrated you?
No, it didn't frustrate me, because that is the standard in the military. So you go and write again. Each time you write 2. You write 2 papers, you have failed. So go and rewrite again. So I decided that, okay, you keep victimizing me. I'm going to prove you wrong. So I went to Sierra Leone on peacekeeping operation. They paid me dollars, thousands of dollars for. So I transferred them to the US and started an international private investigation course for 2 years, from 2004 to 2006. And the course...
So the results, what we have here, can you walk us through what is on the screen?
Yes. Yeah, what is on the screen? That was that's the transcript of my private investigation course I undertook in US from 2004 to 2006, 2 years, involving various areas that you need to learn and write exams on it in order to become an internationally qualified private investigator. So, as you can see, I wrote 25 exams in 2 years. And at times, you even write 3 exams in a day. And you can see that if you add all the 25 and you strike the average, it's 97%.
But this obviously will be different from what you consistently failed in Ghana.
Yes, because that's military. But if you look at the content of what is here, it's way beyond the military. It's diverse. Yeah, you're talking about evidence. Which is tort law. You are talking about covert espionage. So many things that this is diverse. Because as an investigator, you must know, you must be an all-round person. Because investigations dovetails into so many areas. So if you look at the content, it involves a lot. Now, when I finished this course to prove to the military that they should stop the victimization and treat me fairly, Yes, you don't like me because it's an MPP government in power. MPP officers are dealing with me. No problem, but treat me fairly. And so when I published this course, they didn't know I was doing this course. And I published it in Military Part 2. And they saw the content. And they saw my score over 2 years, 25 exams. And its average is 97. Their plan was that let's discredit him. So after I published it in Part 2, they have to put it in my confidential documents. They decided to commission a psychological board headed by one Dr. Bruce.
To evaluate your state of mind?
Thank you. So it's like they didn't believe the
score.
This score. So they constituted a psychological board headed by one Dr. Bruce from 37 to assess my intelligence. So I was told to go to Burma Hall. For 2 weeks, the 3-panel board were cross-examining me, were grilling me in so many areas of life.
For passing an exam?
For publishing this results that they didn't believe it, no, and which has exposed them.
But if they wanted to verify, I'm sure the route would have been very clear to them.
No,
why would they have to evaluate your state of mind before coming to that conclusion?
You see, when people are engaged in diabolical means, it is not for them to go through because they had done their checks. I went to the school and everything is authentic. But they wanted to discredit me because I had exposed them by doing this. I was not going to expose them by protesting with my mouth. It won't go anywhere. I will do a different course from an independent country, the most developed country, to come and prove to you that what you are doing, you are victimizing me.
But yet, what the military considers to be an exam you should write internally, consistently you feel. And you say that because you were victimized.
Yes, and I'll prove that to you. So the psychological board sat, cross-examined for about 2 weeks. Then one day, I went there, then they had this thick brown envelope, A4 blank, take one. They put it, they opened it, and they brought question papers. And I saw on it Cambridge University. And they said, Lieutenant Jakpa, this is, we have to conduct an IQ test on you to assess your intelligence quotient. Having had this 2 weeks discussion with you, we felt that you need to write this exam so that we can conclusively confirm with documents that indeed this is the level of your intelligence. To prove the results that you got from the US, which your military command have commissioned this to find out whether you have such intelligence. So they gave me 3 hours. In fact, I had my own pen. So when I said, no, they have a pen for me. So they gave me their own pen. I sat down for 3 hours and I answered about 160 questions. It was daunting. By the time I finished, they were veins sweat because you have to think and prove the institution wrong, that you are not insane. So when I finished, they told me that the results will be in 2 weeks' time because they have to be sent for marking. So in 2 weeks' time, the results came. And I had scored 95 over 100. And they had placed me in the scale as superior intelligence. So in the report of the psychological board, headed by Dr. Bruce from 37, was that Lieutenant Jakpa is in the range of superior intelligence. And that is why the military do not know how to use him effectively to the benefit of the military. And the IQ results is consistent with the results he got from the US of 97% after taking 25 exams in 2 years. Because the IQ one is 95, so the two are consistent. So they advised the military to change the way they employ me and give me more challenging tasks for me to do, which will push my brain for me to be able to think on my feet, because that's the type of person I am.
Mr. Jakpa, we are running out.
So because they were not happy with that.
And then we've got just 4 minutes to go.
Because they were not happy with that, a very good friend of mine sent me to the then National Security Minister, Francis Poku. And Francis Poku got wind of that report. And he wanted to use my brain So Francis Poku wanted to employ me. He offered me 2.
At the
National Security. He wanted me to work for him. So he said, okay, a friend of mine sent me from the military. The person is in the military as a senior officer in the military. I don't want to mention his name here. He's a general now. He sent me Francis Poku. Francis Poku, the first assignment he gave me was, he wanted me to go underworld because he had seen the transcript and he had seen what I've been trained on. So I should penetrate into the Abogboloshi, that the Kusasis and the Mampusis were smuggling shotguns, weapons in these Kofor bases and doses
to the north.
To the north for the conflict. So he wanted me to get into that cartel so that we could break it. But in my training, you don't tell a security couple direct in his face that I won't do it. I'm not interested. No, you buy time. So I told him that, oh, I'll go and think about it and I'll get back to you. So after a week or 2 or 3, he realized I was not coming. He will call me. I'll meet him at his residence there. Each time I met him, you know, that time, 2007, thereabout, the new currency had come. So the 20 Ghana cedis was the highest. He will give me a bundle. That's 2,000. That's at that time.
All right.
So when I declined, he realized I wasn't interested. Then he offered me another one. He said he wanted me to become his coordinator for CAN 2008.
The football tournament?
Yeah, the tournament. That I should report to him alone and be in charge of the whole country, the security for CAN 2008. I should go and prepare and bring my budget and my office and the people I want to employ. Once again, I told him that I'll get back to him.
You didn't go back?
I didn't go back
because you didn't want to work with the national security?
No, you see, the issue was that Francis Poku is a very smooth, smart intelligence couple. They wanted to keep a tap on my movement because of when he looked at the transcript of what I've done, he felt the military couldn't handle that, and he was to handle me. So he wanted to keep a tap on me, and that was the whole reason why he was engaging me.
We are almost
and
done.
I also knew it.
Just 1 minute for you to respond to this issue. Have you got a response from the Chief Justice on the petition you wrote? Saying that you've not been fairly treated. Just 1 minute on. Have you got?
Yes, I got a response from the Chief Justice, and a surprise response that I didn't provide evidence. So she can't transfer the judge because I didn't provide evidence. She didn't say what I'm saying is not true. So when I got the response from the Chief Justice, I was shocked because the evidence to what I'm saying is in the bosom of the Chief Justice. There's court recording for all proceedings, and she's in charge of the courts. So she could have just demanded for the court recordings and the various proceedings that I had given dates and the time and the occurrence. But she refused to do that and said, oh, there's no evidence. In the court, I cannot go and record things in court. And things are already in court. The proceedings are in court. Just request for it. Look at it and say, what this man is saying, is it true? But she said, no. We didn't provide evidence, so I can't transfer her.
So this petition has been dismissed. But are you afraid you could go to jail?
Oh, no, not at all. In fact, I'm not afraid I could go to jail. I'm not afraid at all, not the least.
And why are you always in this type of cap?
Well, we have our taste in life.
And this is your taste?
We all have our taste in life.
And always wear iron clothes. Did you get that from the military?
You are trained in the military to be a gentleman.
So that's what you are exhibiting?
Your appearance, your everything must be on spot.
All right.
So it's part of the training.
Thank you so much. Mr. Jakpa has been my guest on the pause for today, Wednesday. And that's how we wrap up this show. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Until tomorrow, Thursday, for another exciting edition. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Broby. Have a good evening.